Everyone, this is Patrick Houston from Houston's Home Automation. I've been doing a 4-part video on the Wyze Floodlight camera. We've covered the Wyze subscription services. We've covered the intro to the Floodlight camera. We've also covered the basic controls, and now we'll do a deeper dive on how to adjust some of the settings in the Wyze Floodlight camera settings menu. So your settings menu is right here on the gear icon at the top right of the screen. So going through all of these from the top, we have, of course, the name where you can change and rename the camera. Going in there, it looks like that. We can go to our detection settings, which is very important. These are your detection zones, your motion warnings, your tag, your motion tag, and different things like that. Now you can change the strength of the detection settings right here in this menu, which is really important when you don't want it to pick up too much in, like, say, the rain, or it might pick up certain pets if they're kind of set a certain way. It won't give you types of motion on them. So starting with the detection zone, we'll get into that. And as you can see, the way I have mine is it's pretty much just focused on the yard. There are little pieces right here where you know, the yard is at the end, and I do get some kind of detections on the street out there, because out here is the street. So say if I had this, you know, undarkened like this. By the way, dark means that it's not detecting that. If you see it lit up, that means it is detecting it. So as you see, I have the street, so I'm going to get that motion warning as that car just went by, because I have that lit up. So what you want to do is just sort of block the things out that you don't want the camera to be looking at, and just kind of keep what you want the camera to be looking at in view. Also, make sure to save it with the save icon right there. So moving into the motion warning, we have, what that is if you walk towards the camera, and this works for all cameras, not just the Wyze Floodlight cam, you can it'll either say you're being recorded, which seems a little bit ominous and, you know, kind of scares people off. If you want to do that, make it do that. But I usually like to use the Wyze tone, because it makes a nice little and, you know, it just kind of makes people aware that they're being watched without sounding so authoritarian. You can repeat that sound every 30 seconds or every time it sees you. Now the cooldown time is about a minute, so basically it'll see motion, it'll make the sound about every minute. So just something to be aware of. And then in the schedule, you can set this up so that like, you know, during a certain time, like say if you wanted it to happen at nighttime, because that's when most of your beef is happening at nighttime, you can make that beep sound at night and not in the daytime, or pretty much any time that you set. So if you have the Wyze subscription, you can set these smart detection events. So it's instead of instead of it just recording every time it sees some kind of motion, and you get a lot of false readings that way, because, you know, wind moves papers around and stuff like that. You can set it up for smart detection events. So what that'll do is it's now looking for, if it sees a person in that camera view, it'll look for that and notify or record that, and or record that, depending on what you check or uncheck. And then now we'll go ahead and move on to the MicroSD card, which is what I'd suggest everybody has, because it's the most important thing to to having a subscription-free camera. Otherwise, you have to buy the subscription at $2.99 a month. So the way I have mine set is that it's always set to continuous recording. Of course, if it's lit up bright, that means that's what's selected. So right now we have it on continuous recording. We can format that SD card, or we can eject it from here. And that's just basically what it does. It'll continuously overwrite the oldest videos, as you can see right here. It'll continuously overwrite that oldest videos. Now for this 32 gigabyte card I have in here, that you get about a week's worth of video. So then in your notifications menu, once we go into that, you can turn on or off the notifications for this particular camera. And again, if you have the subscription, you can also set up what you want the camera to notify you about. Now, it can see friendly faces, which I have on mine. This is basically my family, and it can see, who these people are, and it'll let you know exactly who they are if they're in front of the camera and if the camera's at that correct angle. Into advanced settings, as you can see, we have the night vision mode. This just toggles whether or not the camera goes into night vision. Leave it on auto because the camera has something called a starlight sensor, which basically can see very good in low light. So the night mode doesn't need to come on unless it's absolutely necessary if you're like in, complete darkness. The camera status light, I like to keep this on because I like people to see the little LED that's on the camera to let them know that they are being recorded if the camera is on. The timestamp watermark is self-explanatory. That's the Wyze logo. You can rotate the image 180 degrees if, say, you're mounting the camera upside down with the floodlights on the bottom and you still need that image to go the right way. Same thing with the Wyze logo. You can toggle that to whatever you prefer. Of course, I'd like to have the sound be recorded. I don't know why you wouldn't. The hardware decoder, you don't really have to worry about that unless you have a really slow internet connection. And of course, syncing the time will sometimes the camera will be on Pacific time. So that's where you can sync the time with your device that you're toggling the setting on with. And then these are the floodlight settings, and you can toggle the brightness of the floodlight from 1 to high. You can toggle you can activate the floodlight when the camera detects motion, or you can just leave the floodlight on for an ambient light effect. I like to keep it on a nice low setting for ambient light effect, so that way I can always kind of see what's going on in the side yard that I have here. And plus it gets pretty dark. Sometimes the street light doesn't come on, so I like to leave that on. This flashlight with siren setting, it actually will do like a strobe light to, sort of scare your assailant. So it's a really good thing to have. So I like to leave that on. Now inside the automations tab, doorbell detects a person. As you can see, I have if the front doorbell detects a person. You can edit these things over here. If whatever you want, have front doorbell again detects a person. What ends up happening is the side yard camera will turn on its floodlight and the backyard camera will turn on their floodlight, just to light up the entire house to let them know, whoever's there, that we're aware that they're entering. So that's kind of how automations work. They do what you're supposed to do, but a computer does it. Now, sharing, you can share the camera with people who are not the primary user. You basically send them their email. I can't show it to you because I have private emails that I want to keep secret. But you can share your emails, or get their email, and then they'll click a specific link, which will take them to, download the app, and they can have some limited access to that camera. Also, I can't show you device info, because that is basically your IP addresses and your MAC addresses and what is communicating, the different communicating protocols that you're dealing with. Now, the Wyze support tab is basically, it'll give you like a bunch of FAQs. There's a bit of a chat bot thing that they have in there that will try to walk you through, like, say if you get a new router, or if you get you change your password on your router, on your Wi-Fi, and you didn't tell the camera, you can kind of troubleshoot the camera through there. But really, 9 times out of 10, just reinstall your camera. That's gonna fix about 90% of your problems. And restarting camera is pretty self-explanatory. It'll take about 15 to 30 seconds to restart. And also the same with resetting services. Those are resetting the premium services that you pay for. Like Wyze subscription service, that's the, $3 a month. That's how you would kind of reset that. Okay, so that's been me reviewing or doing a deep dive on the Wyze Cam Floodlight Pros settings. Keeping in mind, these are pretty much the settings for all of these cameras that you see right here. And as you can see, they have a bunch of cameras for a bunch of different different use cases, like this Wyze Cam V3 here. That is a panning and tilting camera which follows you around. They even have the Wyze Cam OG, which is one of the cheapest cameras on the market. And this is the camera I'm going to be doing next, the Wyze Bulb Cam. That one is $50, and it's an all-in-one solution that still gives you that memory card, and it's really good for like your front porch or front stoop light. If you just want to have a light there and still put a camera there, it's a really good choice. And again, thanks for listening to me. I've been Patrick Houston from Houston's Home Automation, and this has been my deep dive into Wyze's camera settings. Take it easy, guys.